Well, welcome everybody. This is Marilyn Wilson from RETechnology and Wave Group. I'm really excited to be here today. We've got some a really fun topic for you. Everybody wants to rig the real estate game and they're to their advantage, right? So we've got some really good, really well-prepared brokers that are going to talk to you about the tips and tricks, easy for me to say, tips, tricks, and strategies about ways that they partnered with Elevate to do some really exciting things in their business. So I'd like to introduce Frank Chimento. You can
Hello.
go to the next slide. And he is going to introduce you to all of his peers and clients on the call today. Frank is the VP of Brokerage Development for Elevate. He's done a ton of work with a variety of different broker exciting adventures over the years. So he comes to us with a ton of real world experience. With that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Frank, and take it away.
Thanks, Marilyn. And as usual, thanks for putting this together. We're excited to bring some good value and some knowledge and hopefully some best practices to the folks that are tuned in. I'm super excited because I get to talk to two rock stars in the industry. We've got Julie Vanderblue, who heads up the Vanderblue team and the president of Higgins Group. I'm gonna let Julie introduce herself. And we've also got Rob Lazar, who has one of the largest RE/MAX franchises in the country and just does an enormous amount of stuff with lead generation and a couple of different things. And so we're gonna kind of dive into and talk about, really the focus today is gonna center around what do brokerages do? What do they go through? What are the processes that they, kind of investigate before making technology decisions, and how they partner up with technology vendors, and what are the business challenges that they're trying to solve? So, Julie, I know you and Rob are way too humble and you don't like to brag about yourselves too much, but if you don't mind, just go ahead and break your arm off and pat yourself on the back and talk about some of the awesome things that you're doing there in Connecticut and kind of what you guys are up to, and then we'll let Rob do the same thing.
All right, thanks. And thank you for inviting me. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. I'm excited to talk with you guys. So I've been in the business 22 years. I am the president of the Higgins Group. We cover Connecticut. The Higgins Group has 15 offices, but my main focus is my team, the Vanderblue team. We have about 30 agents now, although I just hired two yesterday. So we're growing. Again, we cover Fairfield County, Connecticut, and into New Haven County. I now have Westchester agents, so we're tapping into that Westchester market. I think we did just about 200 million last year. Our average is between 180 and 210, 100 million a year, but always growing and looking for new technology and looking to network with other leaders in the industry. So thanks again for inviting me to be here.
Yeah, it's funny, when we flew in and took the drive over to your office one time, we were all joking in the car saying, are there any other real estate brokerages in this town? Because every sign in every yard we saw driving in was yours. So that was a pretty interesting thing to see. And I said, you know what? I think she just pulled a prank. She knew which route we were taking from the airport, and she did this.
Yeah.
So,
that's the power of a team.
Yeah, exactly. We got Rob Lazar, who's got offices now in New Jersey and in Florida, and just slowly trying to take over the entire country. But Rob, tell the folks that are paying attention here a little bit about you and kind of what you guys have been up to.
I've been working the lead gen side for about 10 or 11 years to try to add more value to our agents and our team. It's enabled me to grow from 3 offices about 11 years ago to 15 now. We have the privilege of serving over 400 agents across our offices. And, I've partnered with vendors like Frank because I just want to provide a little bit of extra value to our team members here. And
because you might be a glutton for punishment, right?
When you love what you do, Frank, you never work a day. So.
That's true. That is true. So, and you've got offices. What made you decide to branch out and go into a whole new state?
So I just wanted to kind of supplement the business that we have, and Florida's a nice counter-cyclical. It's busy when we're slow. It's a tremendously growing marketplace. So I just felt like it was a place that we needed to be, and we needed to take our brand.
Yeah, and so you guys have, both of you have been in the, in the industry for quite some time. And I'm just curious if you know off the top of your head, approximately as a brokerage, and Julie, in your case, as both a brokerage and a large team, approximately how many pieces of technology do you guys think you try to juggle to provide the kinds of services that you need for you and your agents?
Oh, God, Rob, what are you saying? I would say, so I'm a little bit of an opportunity junkie, and I love Startup Alley at Inman, and I love to be ahead of the tech, but so we're always looking for new stuff. Not all of it sticks, so we're juggling quite a bit because I'm always looking for something new, but at the same time that can interfere with keeping on the basics and making sure that going back to basics and doing all the things that got you there in the first place. So we do juggle quite a bit with the technology. I'm saying we probably got, I don't know, 15 different things that we're working on at a regular basis, depending on what you're calling technology, as far as different things that we're using. Like homesin.com is one thing that I think, Rob, you're familiar with that. It's a website technology driven platform that we're always looking at, but it's more of a website. It's not like a high tech. So I know I'm not making much sense, but would you consider something? Are you familiar with homesin.com?
I'm sorry, what is it? Homesin?
Homesin.com.
Yeah, I am.
It's just another partner that we have, but that introduces, so some of our tech partners introduce new tech. So I'm throwing a number out there that I think is low. Rob, what about you? How many do you think you're juggling?
So if I include technologies that I use to kind of scrub some of the opportunities that we have, I'm probably closer to 40. And in terms of like core technologies, I bet you it's probably 8 to 12 that are things that probably could all be put together in one. However, like you don't want to get second or third best of a technology just because it's connected with something else.
Yeah, good point.
I mean, Julie, if you look at your passwords, like that will give you an idea how much technology you have. I was just looking that up in terms of the passwords that I use, and it's abundant.
Yeah, I'd say I'm closer to like 50, 60 with the password list. So that's a good way to check it.
So tell me something about with regard to, obviously agent adoption is key. This is something, that we run into on a daily basis. Is, brokerages have shrinking margins. We hear about this every day, and it's tougher and tougher and more competitive. And, a brokerage can't afford to just be pulling their wallet out and spending money on technology and services and programs and tools if the agents aren't going to adopt them. So tell me a little bit about how do you process how you're going to dive into agent adoption and things of that nature. How important is that to you?
Rob, do you want to jump on this first, or do you want me to dive in?
I'll take the first stab at this, and I'll just say a lot of my learning curve or my mistakes in technology has been I see a technology that I think would help the agents, and I buy in, I push it, and then I turn around and the adoption rate is subpar, to say the least. So I've tried to consume technology the other way around by walking around, finding out where there's a deficit and getting a little bit of buy-in before I embrace the technology. And I don't know if you've ever made that mistake before, Julie, but I've learned that lesson far too many times.
Yeah, I definitely have, and I used to make the mistake of thinking that my enthusiasm was going to drive the ship and was going to get them on board with me. And it's really education and getting them really having a vested interest in it. I used to provide it, and now I make them pay because people aren't using what they're not paying for. And I bring in beta testers before I even embrace it fully. So I get a little mini team of enthusiasm behind it. And then I usually will provide it for whatever we're adopting free for a few of my agents who are kind of the ambassadors to get the others on board, to help them teach, to help them train, to help them create enthusiasm and show the other agents that it's working. Otherwise, it's all me just trying to get them to use it, and they just I can't even think. I don't even want to think about how much money I've invested in things that we just closed the door because they weren't being used. So I'm right.
Well, let me ask this question. So, you know, do you feel like the technology vendors across the space in our industry, are they doing a good enough job at embracing or engaging your agents to try to develop that agent adoption, or do you feel like there's some responsibility on behalf of the vendors to be able to help you get your agents bought in? What's been your experience in that regard? Because you've both worked with a tremendous amount of vendors and been around, so you know who all the players are. How do you feel like the industry is doing, if you were grading it, on how well the vendors are doing at helping you get your agents engaged?
You know, I feel the industry as a whole is not doing a great job. I mean, Elevate, you guys have been behind us and really like answering the calls and helping us, because it's about the relationship. And what I'm really sick of is being sold, being told how great something's going to be, and I get all excited about it, and then you make the phone call and you can't reach the person, and you got to get a ticket, and then, you know, so they promise the world and they don't deliver. Elevate's been doing a great job. We've got a support team that's really helping us, and we're, you know, there's always going to be a learning curve. There's no doubt about that. But it's the relationship that you have with the vendor that I think is super important to help navigate through, because the agents will just throw up their arms and they won't use it. But if they're able to be involved in the training one-on-one, or you have conference calls or whatever it is, if you don't have that support, it's not going to work. So it's hugely important to have a strong relationship with the vendors.
And Rob, with more than 50 different pieces and parts of technology that you've been engaged with, what do you expect and what are you looking for from the vendor as far as helping you engage your agents and keep them, at the table, so to speak?
So I think that your peers and the vendors in this space have recognized that if there's not an adoption or a significant level of adoption, that they're just basically renting their contracts to us. So, for example, with our relationship, I know that you recognize this, and you're sending somebody out in person to get in front of the people, because it's that critical, not just to have them understand what buttons to push, but to understand the reason behind the technology and how to use it to serve you, instead of you have it be a drain on your day and say, Julie, I don't have time to go put my notes in there, or, it's frustrating every time I go there, it just doesn't serve me. So, I think that it's definitely not, the industry is not doing perfect with it, but there's definitely an emphasis on the industry trying to make sure that we embrace it and that we're a client for life.
So that brings up a really interesting point. I mean, obviously, out talking with brokerages and being in the industry 25 years, like, similar to you guys, one of the things that I've always found, I want to get your perspective on this. We're in this unique industry in that we have independent contractors. A lot of them have left corporate America and have come to be independent contractors because they don't want somebody micromanaging their day-to-day, and they just don't want to be held accountable. At the same time, you're pulling out your wallet, you're spending money, and you've got to get some return on investment so you can keep the doors open, and yet you've got to have some accountability measures in place. So I'm just curious, from your perspective, how do the two of you walk that tightrope between serving independent contractors, but also putting in some accountability measures so that you can maintain profitability in the brokerage? How do you go about doing that? Julie, I'll start with you.
It's a great question, because, my team is, I have about 30 people. I'm very careful with who I choose. We have to have a dedication to excellence, and we have to, it's not about the volume and it's not about the time. Even part-time agents can be absolutely phenomenal agents, but that accountability part is super important. And, you know, up front, when you hire an agent, in my opinion, assigning an accountability partner, having accountability partners within the team is really important, because, you know, it's a tough business. It's, you know, they say, you know, cut the problems in half and multiply the joys by sharing it with others. And, you know, we pull each other up, and we help each other off the ledge when we get there, and we all do. So if you have an accountability partner that you know is watching you, not to keep tabs on you, but to help you, and it's all about how it's presented. This is not, when I do my goals, and I do goals with agents from the day they walk in. We have goal sheets, and then we check on them. If they're not following up with their goals, I am not a babysitter, and I make it very clear, I'm not here to wag my finger and say, why didn't you do that? If you're not doing it, why aren't you doing it? And if you don't want to do it, let's find some, there's a million things you can do to get business. I said before, I'm an opportunity junkie, and we have niche markets. So the accountability part of it is really making them become accountable to themselves, because the last thing I want to do is be a babysitter and force someone to do something that they don't want. So if I'm truly a leader, and I'm thinking about all the technology that we have, that I'm thinking 12 to 15, like there's, you know, even if it's just BombBomb and you're into video and you want to do your video chat after every open house and that's your thing, or you want to go interview. So creating that accountability, because they are independent contractors, and I make it very clear that we're partners. I'm not here and you're here. We are on the same field. I might be the quarterback, but I need you as much as you need me. So we have to be accountable to each other. And and I don't have a problem showing them the door in a very tactful way if it's not a good fit. Because the last thing I want to do is have an unhappy agent. Right. If I can't make them happy, then I have Higgins Group that they can go to. But it's really about making them accountable to themselves. And the best way to do that, from what I've experienced, is having little mini accountability teams underneath the team, because they do more together. When they know their accountability partner is watching, they're going to do it more for each other than they will to impress me or to prove themselves to me.
Yeah, that's interesting. And Rob, you know, I mean, you've got almost 500, you know, agents, 400 some odd agents, but you didn't start that way. And so how have you managed to juggle, you know, for the independent real estate brokerage that's out there with 15, 20 agents? How do they walk that tightrope between managing accountability and recognizing that they're selling essentially their value proposition to independent contractors and encouraging or persuading them to come and join them?
So I think the definition of independent contractor has really pushed a lot of people's buttons and made them uncomfortable in holding agents accountable. In other words, yeah, you could be an independent contractor. You have the ability to, you know, do $1 million or zero. But if we're going to invest time and money, there has to be some level of accountability, just like you pay a coach to do. Like you pay a coach to hold you accountable. You know, I'm giving you, you know, my heart and soul to try to help you, and accountability is part of that equation. So, you know, I think one of the things that, you know, I like to say is if you love your agents, hold them accountable, because that'll have them be successful. You know, there's always some people who are rogue and they do it their own way, and that's fine. There's a place for you here, probably on your team, Julie. But a lot of people, they need that pat on the back. They need that accountability. They need the acknowledgement, and it's you know, basically it's a cultural thing. Is what it's become, instead of a you know, when you talk about accountability, a lot of times it has a negative connotation, but I think it really is, you know, there's a positive side to it if people understand where it's coming from.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective, Rob. I know, like, even in some of the conversations that you and I've had, and that we've had with other customers, I think it's caught a few of our brokerage clients off guard. because we've actually said to them, hey, we're going to go and provide this, this service or this tool for you. But we want to understand what it is you're trying to accomplish. And I'm asking you to give me permission to hold you and your team accountable for doing the things you need to do on your end, and vice versa, giving you the responsibility to hold us accountable to delivering what we need to deliver on. And I think that's interesting. I'm not sure if a lot of folks are really engaging in that kind of intellectual honesty. Do you feel like you've got that sort of relationship with a lot of the different vendors and technology partners that you work with?
In terms of the partners holding me accountable, I'm not sure where you're tying that in for me.
Both ways. Do you feel like you have the trust in some of your partners where, they can hold you accountable for things and you can hold them accountable for things, or is it a little more of a transactional relationship?
Well, the transactional relationships are part of my former relationships, Frank, because it's just not sustainable here. And all my vendor partners that are long-term, they understand the why behind it. In other words, the technology can work great, but if I can't get the buy-in, what's the point of it, right? So, it goes right down the whole continuum from, the vendor to me, to my leadership team, to the agents, and then from the agents to the consumers. Like, if our consumers aren't getting what they wanted, if our agents aren't delivering what they want, we're going to be eliminated out of that mix. We're going to lose market share. So it's inseparable throughout the whole process. And I don't know if you would agree with that, Julie.
I totally agree with that. And the relationship starts like when we have a vendor. I love the why behind it. One of the Simon Sinek's golden circle is one of the things that we talk about is the why behind it. And if my vendors don't understand, or if my agents don't feel that the vendor understands us, they're less likely to get enthusiastic about it. And when they feel heard, then if they don't feel heard, it's a non-starter. So starting like with Elevate, who understood what we were trying to accomplish, really understood the pain, because I've been looking for a CRM for 20 years, and I still have a couple of different ones that we use for different tools. But each vendor has, and we've left a lot of vendors because they just didn't hear us. They just didn't hear the needs that we have, and the agents won't respond if they're not heard.
Right. And that brings up another point is, and I hear this a lot. You guys are a little larger, than a lot of the folks that are even tuning in, to this webinar, that may be a little smaller than where you guys are. But how important is it? I see this. Let me preface it this way, or throw the disclaimer out. In my line, from my perspective, I'm working with brokerages that have business models that run the gamut. Flat fee brokerages, traditional split models, hybrids, the whole 9 yards. But how important is it to you that your technology partners actually understand your business model and how you make money? Because I think what happens a lot of times, and what the feedback I get is there's technology and software, and we do A, B, and C, but how important is it for the technology partner to understand how you actually monetize, your technology tools or your services and how you make money? So just talk to me a little bit about the importance of people understanding your business model and how you actually turn profit.
It depends on the technology. Like a CRM or what you're providing, I want you to know everything, because really we're starting. One of the reasons I was attracted to Elevate is it's really all inclusive. You can do everything from one platform. But something like Market Snapshot, they don't need to know what I do, because it's just a click and my client gets what they get, or BombBomb, or one of the many tools we use. But something as important as a CRM, and can hear us as well, like when it's an automatic social media post that is being presented by a company like yours, you have to know what we want and don't want marketed on social media, and you have to understand. Yes, I know you can't, with clients that you have all over the country, it can't get too specific of what we need, but at the same time, you're going to know what we want done. And so it goes the gamut. Some of the technology, we don't even know them, they don't know us, we just sign a contract, we use their systems. Right. Someone like you I'm talking to you, you know, when I need you, you're there, which is so important.
Got it. Rob, how about you? How important is it, you know, with the different, you know, technology tools and services you provide, how important is it that those people understand your business model and how it may be different from all the other brokerages that they provide services and tools for? Or is it important at all?
Well, I mean, I think it's critical to the relationship that we have, Frank. Like, Julie referenced that when she has an issue, she knows she can pick up the phone and get a real person on the phone to help solve a problem. I think that relationship base is kind of the foundation to where, you know, the trust and the technology go hand in hand. You know exactly, you know, when we started our relationship here, what my financial model was and what numbers we needed to hit to get there. So I don't know how we could even had a conversation or a contract without me sharing with you what benchmarks I had to hit, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've had a lot of conversations about that, and I think that's, you know, I think that's important. I wish, you know, even in my background, being in a bunch of different technology vendors and working inside all of the major franchise brands, we felt like, you know, again, I go back to, I don't mean to focus on that, but I think of that mom and pop or the little brokerage that I had at one point. And the most frustrating thing for me was always, how do I get these people that I'm depending on or becoming codependent on to understand how I actually make money? If they don't understand that, then what in the world are we doing? You know, what's their agenda? What's my agenda? How do those things mesh? So, I mean, I think that's good feedback. I think it is really important, you know, from an advice perspective, if we were going to give best practices out, you know, to other brokerages that are looking, you know, for different filling gaps in their technology, it's going to be, find some people that you can engage with. You know, find folks that will spend time learning about how you run your business and that are willing to get in and look under the hood and understand how you actually make money. You know, now with that said, how important, when you're providing tools, Julie, with the way your team is structured, do you have your agents putting skin in the game, so to speak, or are you providing services for them? And how do you determine when you think the agent needs to put some skin in the game for accountability and when you just need to provide something for them?
You know, I've found that without skin in the game, they're not taking it as seriously. So I do have benchmarks that if they reach a certain, if they can turn over the leads that we're giving them, you know, then we'll deduct a certain amount. It'll cut the cost of the system will come off. So they kind of earn the give back on the cost of what the product or whatever technology we're providing. But if they're not paying for it, it's not as valuable. And I never liked thinking that way because I'd like to give the product to them and I want them to jump on board and use it. But I do have qualifiers that they can earn back their investment. But if they're not using it, you know, then they're not going to earn it back. And so it makes them use it, at least try it, and then they'll once they get on, once they start using it, they find, wow, you know, why was I resisting this so much? And we laugh about it. And we have team meetings every Monday and trainings every Friday, and we talk about the investment within to themselves. Like if you're not investing in yourself, you're not investing in your own business. So you've got to look at it as an investment. But that said, if they are using the tools that I provide that I would have otherwise provided, if you know, as a company, they can earn back the money if they're using it, as well as helping other agents on the team use it in the best way possible.
I like that. I like that philosophy of your approach. Obviously, it's proven successful for you guys. You got a powerhouse of a team. Rob, you know, with you and your team with so many agents, how do you determine when and if you're going to require agents to put some skin in the game for some of the tools versus tools you feel like you just need to provide for them?
So I've been a little bit less. I've been a little bit less of pushing agents to put skin in the game, and I've been fighting the accountability fight. And it's kind of been, you know, if you're not using it, then we remove it. And you'd be surprised that, you know, the fear of loss is fairly tremendous. You know, I think a lot of agents have manana syndrome. Hey, Frank, you know, I'm going to get to that next month. Oh, you're going to take it away? I got to really pay attention now. But I really like Julie's, philosophical way of, if an agent doesn't see the value and they're not willing to pay for it, then why are we providing it? We actually have one vendor that only charges us based upon how many times somebody logs in for a coaching program. And to me, I like that because, hey, if nobody's logging into your crap, why am I paying for it?
Right.
So they put their money where their mouth is, and I think that type of a model, or the vendor is giving us more metrics as to how much time is somebody spending on the platform would be really helpful. How many logons? Like most programs only tell you maybe the last logon, or sometimes I need to reach out to my account rep and say, hey, can you tell me the last login date for all the people that I'm paying for? And sometimes it's shocking, and it's very disappointing.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you
one thing I do with technology too is I want the agents out there looking for things that can work. So if they bring in a technology, like a simple example is Ripple, it's a little video, social media video tool. So an agent brought it in and we implemented it with the team. We introduced it to the team. We have a team platform. If they want to personalize it, they can upgrade to the personalized. I'm providing it for the whole team, but then it's got the Vanderblue logo and it doesn't have their face and name. So I'm branding us. And the person that brings in the technology, I pay for. So it gives them an incentive to find some cool technology to bring to the team. They get it for free if we implement it. We implement it as a whole so the whole team can use it on a Vanderblue level. But if they want to personalize it, it's a little bit more, and then they're invested.
I like that. That's interesting. A little bit of a shared risk model with some incentive to go find the latest and greatest cool stuff. I like that. So let's just for a minute, let's kind of look into the crystal ball, and let's wipe away everything, or based on your experiences, and wipe away what you have. In a couple of bullet points, Julie, if you were to say, hey, here's what's missing technologically in the industry, and I wish it existed in this capacity, what would that look or feel like, and how would you articulate that?
Wow. God, I don't want to just throw out an answer. That's a great question. I'll probably be up all night thinking about what I would, what I really, really need, because, I think one of the things that's lacking right now is focus. And agents are distracted by the shiny new toy and the shiny new object, and it's relationship building. So one of the reasons I was so attracted to Elevate is we need ease of use, but we need one place where we can touch our clients. What I don't want is just drip campaigns going out to leads and chasing lead gen. Lead gen is a necessary evil. We have to have lead gen. We have to have new leads. But if I teach my team that the leads are the gravy, like that's the frosting on the cake. The cake is really giving you the tools to create relationships with your own sphere, or making relationships with people that you're meeting, which is lacking. If we're not turning open house buyers into actual buyers because we're too busy chasing cold leads, then we've got a problem. So I think, what I'd love to see is kind of what we're getting hopefully from you, is really a one-stop way to communicate with, to keep in touch with people we already know, to create relationships with people we don't, to allow the agents to have their own branding, because everybody wants to brand themselves within it, where I can keep, like the mothership can keep an eye on everybody, but at the same time, they have their own spheres of influence that are protected and unseen, because that's always a little bit of a conundrum with, sharing information with everybody. So,
right.
You know what, I'm probably going to listen to what Rob has to say, and then I'm going to say, wait, can I add one more thing?
Here's the thing. Rob's already had time to think about this, so I'm changing the question for Rob just a little bit. Rob, if you were not running a real estate brokerage and somebody handed you unlimited amounts of revenue to go build the technology that was going to transform the real estate industry, what would you build? What would it look like?
I mean, to be honest, I would probably try to build a platform that integrates the best of breeds that are out there so that there's maybe a single user, single sign-on, and you can have the best technologies all integrated into one place. Because I don't think that, if you gave me an unlimited checkbook, I could produce products that would compete with the best of breed. And I think the biggest challenge is just that there are just so many different passwords, different things, and you really need to have one CRM that you really know and use and trust. And with the Remax organization, we've attracted a lot of agents that have come from different brands, independents, other brokers. They have their favorite CRM, and my job is not to then convert them to the one that I like. My job is just maybe to provide a tool that would allow them to hook it into it. So if you have your CRM, you can hook it into something, a lead gen system that we have, right? And our paperless, our dot loop or our document processing. So
Right.
that would be how I would spend the money. I wouldn't, go over the top and try to reinvent some of the technologies that are already there.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. And on that note, I should have hit it a little earlier because I'm just curious because this has become a really big thing in the industry. And this will probably be the last point. We're going to switch gears and kind of open up for some questions because there's a lot of folks that may want to pick your brain and ask you some specific questions. But agent, data privacy has become a big topic of conversation in a variety of different ways. We know that we've got big class action lawsuits that are pending in our industry for mass emailing and mass text messaging and robo dialing and all of that. And then you switch gears and you've got this issue of data privacy. And I ran into this when I was a little younger with real estate agents that liked me, joined me, but they didn't want to use a program that I provided to them if I could have access to their database. They didn't want to share their database with me. That was something that they worked hard to kind of procure on their own. How important is it for you guys? And what do you feel is the nature or the sense of from your agents? Are they focused and concerned about data privacy and protecting their databases? Or do they just feel like, hey, I love you, Rob and Julie, and I trust you, and here you go, have what's mine is yours? What's your take on that, and how do you combat that?
I have, it's mixed reviews. Some agents really don't care. They totally trust. They're loyal. I'm trying to recruit a top producer who's got a big book of business and doesn't want to download their whole CSV file onto my database. Keeping it private and separate is really, really important to them. And then the leads that I provide, I could see, but it is definitely a topic for, especially when you're recruiting. The agents that have been with me for a while or agents that have known me for a while, and some people just don't care, and some people, even new agents, they don't want to share anything. So it really, I think, depends on the people, but it definitely is a topic that needs to be discussed. Once you navigate, because if they don't ask, then I if they ask me, and with Elevate, their database is private. But it's interesting for me to see if they'll even ask. I don't even tell them it's not going to happen. I just share what we're getting, and it's interesting to find out who's saying, well, what about mine? Are you going to be able to see mine? And I explain, but it actually is a great way to educate myself. Not that I would be suspect if somebody wants their things private. That's definitely important to them, but it does help me understand them a little bit more as well. So it's definitely a little bit all over the map, because some people just, I've had an agent, my top producer doesn't care what I say. She gets recruited all the time, but she's always putting her things in, and she has no problem with it. So it just depends, I think.
Yeah, Rob, how about you? I know you've got agents that have used a lot of systems, and Rob, you provide a lot of lead gen stuff, but do you find, and I'm prefacing it because, we run into, and the feedback I get is, hey, my agents are only using the platform I provide for the leads I generate through it, but they won't use it to leverage their own spheres of influence because they're afraid I've got access to their contacts. And therefore, no one's really winning to the degree we could be winning because we're only getting partial use. Do you experience that, or what have you done to kind of deal with that?
I mean, I do experience that. I think most of the agents recognize that, there's just so much business out there that we're not looking to, hijack your database, even if you decide to, take a different opportunity. And to be honest, it would really be foolish for me because it's not going to work for me if it's their database. Like, why am I going to steal their database? I'm going to call and say, hey, Frank, Frank's no longer at Remax. Can I have Rob help you? No. So from a business philosophy, I think it's bad business, and it's probably a paranoid fear that an agent might have. It reminds me of like 25, 26 years ago when I got into business. Like, people would say, "Hey, Rob, can you help me out with this? But don't tell anybody." I'm like, you haven't figured something out that nobody's figured out. Everything out there is, you're not original. And I've always been, probably after the first 4 or 5 years, I've always been, hey, I will go to the wall for you to try to fix a problem, but I will share with you the problems I fixed for 200 other agents in my career, and I'll add that value into the real estate universe or the real estate ecosystem that we have here. And
Yeah.
the agents that have the right mindset that we have, they understand what drives us. They understand that, hey, when I solve your problem, I'm going to share it with everybody else. To be honest, I can even share it on this webinar. It's a matter of, people just need to execute. It's not
Yeah.
rocket science or brain surgery we do here. It's consistency, it's contribution, it's adding value. These are all the things that, they're not just sound bites. That's what really drives the long-term success in this business. And I know
Yeah.
Julie's a master at it.
Well, I mean,
Thank
both
you.
of you have been, look, that's why I was so excited to have you on here. I mean, you guys are both, your reputations precede yourselves. You've both spoken at all the big conferences and all of those things. So, I'm honored to be able to share this because, I mean, genuinely at the end of the day, I think all of us in some way, shape, or form. I mean, obviously, we're all kind of competing in some degree in your local markets and all of that. But I mean, I think we all still have a genuine desire to share best practices. And as I say, and as our company says, we try to help brokerages avoid paying the stupid tax. If there's something we've learned from somebody else and we can share it with you and keep you from making that mistake, then I think we're selling everybody short if we hold on to that. So, I just want to, again, I appreciate you guys being on here. We're gonna in just a second here open it up. We've got Bondal and Jolly, who I should have introduced earlier, but she's our VP of marketing and was the founder of a phenomenal best of class email marketing platform called Emerge, which is now inside of the Elevate system. And I know she's been fielding some questions. In fact, I see the little balloon going up here. But we've got a question right now for Julie. I've got one right here. A question for Julie. You talked about accountability with your agents. When you are recruiting your agents, how much do you discuss this and how does it impact recruitment?
I definitely discuss it, and it actually helps them see the value in what I offer. Because I think most people who would be attracted to my team, who want to be successful, want to be held accountable. And I put myself in there, and I'm the first to say, if I don't have somebody holding me accountable, I'm going to be distracted and do something else. And that's why we have a team. So I say right up front, we create the accountability program around the need of the agent. So it's not about what I'm expecting, it's about what you want. And we look at your goals, and then we help you hold yourself accountable together. Because my goal is to make you successful. And it's not about what you can do for me, it's really how I'm going to boost you, because if you're successful, we're successful, and the consumer is successful. So I definitely bring it up in the interview process, and I definitely don't say it like, well, you will be held accountable and you have to be here. I mean, we have Monday morning meetings and we have Friday trainings. It's not mandatory, but I take attendance. And, if you're not there, I'm aware of that, and my time is valuable, and I provide more of my time for the people who give me theirs, and it works itself out. But I hope I answered the question.
I love that. It's not mandatory, but I take attendance. That's pretty good. So we got a question here for both of you. Where? Oh, wait a minute. I'm jumping ahead of myself. Let me see. There was another one here. Yeah, for both of you. Both mentioned using lots of technology programs. In concept or theory, how do you envision your partnership with Elevate addressing or consolidating this?
Rob, you want to go first?
I'll field that. You know, some of the already established products that Elevate has, you know, we'll be able to, I guess, replace some of the technologies that we have. So maybe instead of having, you know, 52 logons, I might have, you know, 41. But you know, I don't think one partner has everything, you know, that we need. And I think Frank might have took some notes there. He's going to build some sort of API to bring everything together, and
There you go.
it'll be the best webinar we had. But you know, like even just from team building, you know, like, you know, we have the IDX for the MLS. So, you know, you're also providing us with some market share data to help us build our teams, help us understand, you know, where we are in certain markets, where do we need to recruit somebody. So, you know, there are a handful of things that, you know, are included in the package that I bought that, you know, I'm slowly migrating over towards. But we didn't just, you know, we didn't just pull the Band-Aid off and then today on Monday, everybody's abandoning X and we're going to Y. But, you know, I'm encouraged by the additional opportunities, and I still think I've only scratched.
We lost your audio, Rob. I think you pulled the plug out.
I said, I think we just scratched the surface as to what we can, you know, adopt that you're providing, you know, but we just can't drink from a fire hydrant.
No, and I think that's a really great point. And Julie, I want to get your response to that as well. I know, you know, just recently I was speaking with a small brokerage and they were just so excited about, you know, getting into these new opportunities. And I had to kind of remind them that, hey, you know, I'd love to say it's different, but the truth is this is not an event. It's a process. And you gotta be willing to crawl, walk, run. I don't care how, you know, how much blue sky, you know, your partner promises you, it's still a process. But Julie, what's your take on that with regard to, you know, how you feel like, you know, different solutions can help you?
I mean, Elevate, I totally agree with Rob, and, you know, we kind of were just letting go of certain things that we were using because we know Elevate will bring that to us. And then eventually we're going to be letting go of more of what we've had in the past because I think Elevate will offer the solution. What I love most about Elevate and what really got me enthusiastic and which I share with my team is you're looking into the future for what's next. Like I think that if we have the fact that we talked about vendor relationships, I feel like, wow, I really want, you know, we need to have the .loop or DocuSign or whatever, because now we have that. I have confidence that you guys are forward thinkers and that this is only going to grow and become developed and be developed into combining the tools. And to Rob's point, which is exactly what I think we need, is like the best of class, an avenue to best of class, so that you're going to be implementing hopefully relationships with others or creating what we need without saying, okay, well, so your focus is not so much on selling more, but offering more. Like, what are we going to offer next? And there's a line I learned actually from Alan Dalton, and it's, you know, we don't brag about selling more homes. We focus on selling homes for more. And I love that line, and I use it a lot. And I can then, my agent who's with me can say, we do sell more homes, but. So I think your focus is on improving what you offer versus just selling more, which was really important to me when I joined.
Well,
that
you
you're
know, and
always
on
looking
that note, I know when we announced internally that we were doing this webinar with you guys, I think my development team threw themselves out the window because they said every time I have a conversation with Rob, they have 15 new things to build. So, you know, I think, but I say that because I do think it's important. I really do think it's important. I mean, obviously, you guys know my background and came from some big tech companies that it just the customer's voice was so hard to hear. And when you heard the customer's voice, it was so difficult to execute on. And then they'd be able to come back and provide that. So I think that is something that's really important for every potential, you know, broker. Every brokerage out there needs to make sure, no matter what your technology solutions are and your partners, you got to make sure that your voice is heard in that. A couple of other questions real quick here. This is for both of you. Where does the majority of your business come from? Is it past clients, sphere of influence, referrals, or open houses? What is successful in your market for your agents? Rob, start with you.
For us, we've made a big emphasis on in the past couple of years on getting it in the ahead of the cycle. So we're getting a lot of the buyer traffic coming to our area. So we probably boosted our buyer traffic by about 15 to 20% across the entire company. Those are coming from lead capture, lead generation sources. We've invested a lot in the training to convert those, because without the skills to convert them, you're chasing your dollars, you're chasing your opportunities. And what was the other? You said, where does most of our opportunity come from?
Yeah, where's most of your business coming from? Past clients, sphere of influence, referrals, or open houses?
I mean, in the second piece, with 400 agents, it depends upon the agent. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to keep the focus on not going on one channel. So you don't want to be pegged as just a buyer's agent. You don't want to be pegged as an online lead guru. The best clients are the ones that you've worked with in the past, and it's not very sexy or exciting, but those are the best clients that you can have. Even some old-fashioned technology such as door knocking, it's just phenomenal. But the problem with that is that nobody can make money off of it. There's no technology company selling you on how to knock a door. But if you look at it, you want to buy leads of people that are moving to Westfield, New Jersey. There's all these technologies that are coming from Manhattan, they're coming from Connecticut. Where are they coming from? You try to advertise to those people. Well, if you want listings, you just drive around. That's where they are, right? Walk around on a Saturday morning, talk to people walking their dog. Sometimes it just gets to be that basic and that fundamental if you're committed to the business. But I'm not a real big on monikers that, hey, I'm a buyer's agent, I'm a listing agent. I'm a relationship person. It's all about the relationships. If you need to sell or you need to buy, I want to be the relationships that solves your problem.
Yeah, that's great. That's good stuff. Julie, where do you feel like your business is coming from?
Statistically, I wish I could bring Sue in, because I am not that person. Because if I focus on, I just don't look at things that way. Like, I am looking at opportunity everywhere. But if I were to guess, I think it's really relationship. Leads, we turn over 3% of the leads that we get, like the average. It's referrals from past clients. Open houses, I have a really strict training program for open houses. So we do turn over we do on average 15 to 18 open houses every Sunday, just my team. Cross marketing, and we have all kinds of tools for that. Really, community involvement is huge for us. I'm on the board of the Chamber of Commerce for one town. I've got agents throughout, because being involved in the community, because people want to go to people they know. Like, if I just recently got surgery on my finger, I must have gotten 8 different docs. Oh, I got a doctor, I got a doctor, I got a doctor. Everybody wants to refer someone they trust.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't they want to refer their realtor? If you're staying in touch with them, if you're part of their world, if you're providing more than just transaction. And we have something called all-inclusive real estate, AIR, which goes so far beyond just the transaction. So I think it can be more referral. And of course, we need lead gen, but I would say that anybody who's listening, don't get caught up on that. Get caught up on really tapping into your own sphere as well.
Yeah. No, that's really great stuff. Well, look, we're going to close this thing up here, and I can't thank you enough. I mean, it's not every day that brokerages, team leaders, C-level executives in the industry are willing to come on and just give real authentic, transparent, feedback to what's working and what's not. And I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, and all of us here at Elevate. I know the RE Technology folks too, really appreciate you doing that. One thing I do want to point out, and I'm going to let you guys have a little closing statement on whatever your advice would be to brokerages out there that are trying to get to the next level, regardless of what it is. But I do want to tell folks that what we are doing for brokerages that want to have a little bit of what we call a gap analysis. And I think that's something we went through with both of you, when we first met, was just to sit down and say, what are your business challenges? What's keeping you up at night? I think when I asked Rob what was keeping him up at night, he thought about it and told me it was his shoulder or something like that, and I really meant business-wise, what's keeping you up at night, and how can we work through and, spend some time with you to find out, are there solutions available for you? Are there some things that can be done? So we are offering folks, if they go to boss.tryelevate.com, you will be able to inquire on getting a free gap analysis from us. It's a conversation with me and one of my colleagues, Mike Martella, who's been in the industry about 20 years as well. And also giving them a little download, something that I put together a long time ago for recruiting, some of the most influential words that brokerages could know when recruiting agents. So with that said, Rob, start with you. We'll since Julie's a lot better looking than both you and I combined, we'll let her start it out and end it up. But Rob,
I disagree.
Closing comments, thoughts, opinions on brokers that are just trying to navigate the technology world and figure out how to grow their business. What kind of advice would you give them as far as managing that process or going through that process?
So I would say, reverse engineer the process. Start with how to serve the customer, and then how to serve your agents and your team, and then you'll be successful beyond belief, instead of trying to figure out, hey, let me go to the top of the funnel and push in a bunch of crap. And if you don't have people at the bottom of the funnel that are interested and committed in converting it doesn't work. I mean, it's really a tough way to go. If you sit down with your team, or you hire your team based upon where they want to go, and then you figure out how to you balance the technology and accountability to get them there. I think the three of us here probably together have made more mistakes than anybody on the webinar could ever do. And that's part of the beauty of what we have is our history has given us some better instincts and our experience to solve problems. So, I think if you were to consider coming over to the Vanderblue or the Remax Select brand, we're not going to take you if we can't solve your problem. And we hope our agents, aren't working with buyers or sellers if we can't serve them at the highest level, because it's an ill-fated venture. So if you start with the end in mind, I'm sorry to be so wordy, but I'm passionate about it. You serve the customer, you serve the agent, you're going to be successful beyond belief.
God, that's great stuff, Rob. Rob, again, really, truly thank you for your time. I know it's not easy to carve out an extra hour in a day that already has not enough hours in it. Julie, parting words of wisdom. What would you say would be the golden nugget for a brokerage to take away?
I love what Rob shared, and the what's in it for me has to leave the room at like the giving. The consumer-centric behavior is not seen much. Real estate has a bad reputation as an industry because of that, and I see it changing. And if we teach our agents, I've mentioned to Rob, and thank you, Frank, for introducing me to Rob, because I am super psyched about this relationship that we're creating. And I mentioned earlier about a book I give to my agents called The Go-Giver. And it's about how to give. And it's about, if you're focusing on how you can help someone and that's your why, because I can serve, it comes back. And I would say, never stop learning. Never think you know more than you do. You don't know what you don't know. Try. Why wouldn't anybody take this free gap analysis? Like, how can you not? I mean, just that alone is just take a look. Look under the covers and let people help you. And always keep grasping for opportunity when it comes to education and aligning yourself and networking with others.
Yeah, that's great. I really appreciate that. And you know, Julie, what something you said reminded me of something over the years I spent with Tony Robbins. And one of the things that he used to say all the time is, there's no such thing as failure. There's only feedback, outcomes, and results. And you know, I really do try to encourage brokerages that, you know, you're going to make mistakes. You know, the good news is the sun's going to shine again tomorrow, and you can learn from it. But I think you're going to learn and grow even faster if you learn from it and help somebody else that hasn't hit that hurdle yet. You know, so anyway, thank you so much for helping so many brokerages today. And Marilyn and your team, you know, over at RETechnology and the Wave Group, thank you so much for inviting us and letting us spend a little bit of time to impart some wisdom. And if you want a gap analysis for free, go ahead and visit boss.tryelevate.com. And on behalf of Rob and Julie, my name is Frank Chimento with Elm Street Technology. Peace out. Have a great day. We look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Take care.